Oh, it's time. That's right, the day we have all been waiting for, Patch Notes Day, is finally upon us for Apex Legends Season 12. But most of you just reading the patch notes may not pick up on why certain changes are so important, and what are the things to really take away from reading this to prepare you for being a better player and having more success on launch day. That's what this video is all about. A little bit more of an analytical video on the 5 most important things that these patch notes and Season 12 will be bringing to the table. With me, Raynday, your Apex mentor, maybe your ALGS commentator, or maybe just somebody who you ended up clicking on this video because the title sounded interesting. Either way, let's get into it so that you start out Season 12 the way you want to, knowing exactly what's so important and why these changes will change the game you love. All right, so let's start off with the obvious. Mad Maggie comes to the table. She is the new legend in Apex Legends, and we've seen many little glimpses of gameplay from her, and she looks really viable. A lot of people think that maybe her passive with the shotguns moving faster will be more important, but I happen to tell you that it's not as important maybe as one might think. It's the difference between you using a Mozambique versus an EVA 8. It'll give you about 9% faster movement with those shotguns, and I think that can be a difference. The Mozam does feel faster than the Peacekeeper or the EVA, but it's not enough. Think of a Devotion versus a flatline when you aim down sights. That's still a difference, but it's not a game-changing difference. It will, however, be a really nice quality of life. Will that make her a bubble fight character? That remains to be seen, but it'll certainly be something a lot of people think is OP. Another thing about Maggie's kit that I find very, very interesting that you should pay attention to is her riot drill. I think this is a very underrated tactical, although a lot of people are saying, oh, it looks cool, it looks flashy, but is it really going to have an impact? The way that it burns players outside of the wall that you throw it on has so many implications. This is going to be an ability you have to play around that has never existed before. When you're holding down a door using shield batteries to try to heal up and people can only throw a grenade or they can kick it twice, you have a very guaranteed window of safety. Not anymore with Maggie, and I think that is going to be the one most important thing her kit brings that changes things we're used to in Apex Legends, because that has been fundamental since the game has began. Maggie's Wrecking Ball, and I talked about this a little bit before, seems like it's going to be very fun. It seems like she's going to be a really cool character to play. One I'll probably like myself, moving faster in general with those speed boosts, detonating near enemies, being more direct. I like to get in there, and I think a lot of players do. So for those aggressive players, she's going to be really, really fun. Her passive that also allows her to see behind walls after she shoots an enemy or just track the enemy with a highlighted vision is nice. But again, you've got to be aggressive to do it. So it's going to lean towards players who don't like to slow down and pace out their fights and really like to get into the thick of things as an entry fragger. However, to note, she doesn't have the same level of invulnerability like someone who would be a Wraith or even an Ashe who could even phase breach out if she was in a lot of different troubles. That's the thing with Maggie. We're going to have to wait and see if she can be aggressive and find a way to get out of there while still providing enough information to her teammates. But that's one of the most important things to pay attention to in these patch notes. Let me know what you guys think about Mad Maggie below. All right, number 2 is not control. No, we've talked about that before. I think it'll be important, but we already know about control, and I think that's just going to be a great aside for the game. Number 2 is the maps. In this new patch notes, the maps are getting significant changes, including Olympus specifically, as that is where we are going to be playing our very first split of ranked, which I'll talk about the changes to that right after this. And don't worry, we've got Crypto and Caustic coming up too. They had 3 major goals to change Olympus because they knew it was going to be the first split of ranked where everyone was going to be featuring and playing the game. And here are the 3 big notes that they decided to try to change. They expanded the map, spreading squads out so the map's center area of labs and estates isn't the only go-to combat zone each game, and trying to limit third parties. Good luck. I wish we could limit third parties in all battle royales. Not sure it's going to work though. Number 2, they wanted to make better rotational options to help players get around and out of dangerous choke points. A lot of the adjustments you'll see in the images here help to expand that space and create different routes where maybe there was only one dangerous route to move through, helping to improve the quality of life and allow players to make different decisions to go into a fight or get out of one if they happen to be in a bad spot. The third thing is they wanted new interactive map, toy, and play spaces to help attract players into the new areas, creating fresh experiences for Olympus. One of the best examples of this is right behind labs, there was always a loot bin that had guaranteed high-level loot. In fact, I showcased this on a video in my channel maybe a couple of months ago. They've now taken those 3 bins and moved them to the outer docks area. So to encourage players to land on the far edges of the ring where they normally wouldn't land, but to get guaranteed good loot, such as what they've done in World's Edge with Bloodhound Trials. You have to go through a lot of things and land on the northwest side of the map, but hey, you end up getting better loot. It's a nice trade-off for players to be able to make. However, they also made some updates to Stormpoint, and this is important too because I do love this map. Stormpoint made itself interesting by allowing wildlife to be a part of your experience. You run into prowlers and spiders, and basically there's been a lot of quality of life of tuning for those interactions so that they're not too dominant and they fit nicely into the gameplay. I think this is just something that we don't need to mention too much about, but as you can see, here are some of the changes, and you can pause this video and check it out to read yourself. The most important part though is the dropship pathing, meaning when you are dropping out of the game for the first time, there were certain areas that were much harder to get to, specifically the northeast side of the map, and it was really easy to always get into the southern side of the map. What does this mean? Why does it matter? Well, when you're trying to decide where to drop, you tend to only have options to go to certain places, and you have to make an extremely hard and difficult jump to get to others, meaning that those zones don't have the same level of congestion or popularity, and so that fights end up occurring in the same places, making a map feel less intuitive and less free and open and more predictable and congested, which is something that they want to get away from. In this new patch, they rotated it a little bit so that now the path goes towards the northeast but still allows people to drop into the south. So this should be a good change for anyone who wants a different look at starting out in Stormpoint. All of these tweaks help to make Stormpoint a more consistent and competitive map, so hey, maybe one day we'll see it in the ALGS. Now in the last ranked update, they ended up trying to place more emphasis on kills. Obviously, it's this weird balance in battle royales where you're trying to reward teams for getting to the end and winning, because I mean that's the point, but you're also not trying to overly reward campers who maybe aren't involved in any fights, and a team that has won 7 fights, 20 kills, ends up losing one final fight because that last team third parties, and that team ends up being a more successful team in terms of points. There's got to be this balance of how many kills and how effective you were throughout the game, and what is your final placement and total of your score. And so they're trying to reduce now these changes. So they've reduced the KP from 175 to 125 in terms of what you can get as a maximum of the points for kills, but they've also increased the multiplier you get if you're in the top 5 for the points you already have. This means that in order to get maximum value from your points, you've got to do some kills and get some frags going, but you also then have to get into that top 5 position and show that you can win a game. This is going to help teams who were only focused on getting kills but maybe got out in round 9 and 10 feel undermined and punished versus teams that actually were able to put a complete game together, getting a few kills and then making it into the top 5 and trying to finish off the game and get a win. I'm excited to play a little bit of ranked on Olympus, but I'm also excited just for the fact that it's putting together a complete game that Apex keeps trying to teach us to do. This is a fun one, and I hope you guys are definitely excited about this change. All right, now the good stuff, Let's talk about it. Big Daddy C. In fact, it's the double C's. Not what you're thinking, guys. No, it's the double C's. It's Crypto and Caustic, who are now the 4th most important thing to talk about here, but maybe the highlight of this patch notes, and maybe the biggest surprise, because there were not a lot of legend changes, actually no legend changes outside of these two. So let's break down why they mean business. Before we get into it though, if you guys are enjoying this video, remember to like and subscribe. It helps me a lot, helps the algorithm know you like this type of edited, polished content, and also help me get my road to 400K going. Become a part of the Rainstorm. We are 10,000 away. Let's keep it up. All right, so Crypto got 2 major changes. One, a quality of life change to his drone, as you could see in this image here. Let's take a look at it. What you'll notice is that they've added the game state, the ring information, round timers, the mini map, the kill feed, the team status, and the ping information to the drone's heads up display, meaning when you're in the drone, you'll have so much more information than when you had before, which is one of Crypto's most crippling features prior. They've repurposed the drone's HUD of the old Crypto Health Shield presentation into the display of the health of the drone itself, and you'll be able to notice that the drone is either taking more damage than you'd like and be able to get out of there faster. The survey beacon markers are now displayed in world while piloting the drone, same as when controlling Crypto himself, and we all know how important survey beacons are, finding them and accessing them for high-level Apex Legends competitive. So that's a nice quality of life change. Because they've done this, they've also done 2 changes to the vision that he gets when he is scanning other players near his view, called Neuralink. They've increased it from 160 to 240 degrees, meaning you'll be able to see players easier and in a wider area, and they'll stay highlighted. They're also disabling that Neuralink while the drone is being recalled. So the point of this is that Crypto's drone ultimately gets a lot better, but this isn't the biggest change because yes, you get more information, you can see players in a wider field of vision, which is great, but that's not what I think is most exciting. The deployment of the drone has received a rework. You can now press the tactical button and the drone will fly out in front of you without having to go into it. This seems like a small change, but it has huge implications for quickly getting out your EMP into a fight that you're in. Crypto's ultimate EMP allows you to obviously take 50 shield off of your opponents, destroy traps and things like Caustic cans, Watson pylon fences, and Gibraltar dome shields. But the benefit of being able to do this quickly while still staying in the fight is something we probably haven't seen Crypto be able to show his power about, because this is something that allows you to really stay competitive and not have to give up those interactions where you're in the thick of things and have to kind of remove yourself just in order to do your ultimate when everyone else is just fighting while using their ultimate with no problem. Now, because this is a nice quality of life change, meaning you can throw your EMP, stay shooting someone while that thing is happening very easily, efficiently, without changing your viewpoint and getting disoriented, they've taken the shield of the drone or the health of the drone down from 60 to 50. So that's an important change. It will be a little bit easier to 2-tap for a lot of weapons or to just get a single spray off and finish it off, especially if 2 opponents are shooting it. So pay attention to that. You'll still have to be careful with your placement, but you will have a lot more freedom and ease of access to your ultimate in the middle of a fight, which is where Crypto has always suffered. The idea behind these changes are interesting, and here's the real note to understand. Crypto, for most people's awareness, is probably a decent winning character, even though he's an unpopular character. These are hard characters to balance, and so these changes look to make him more powerful in an easier way for casual players. But it might also tweak the difference in high-level play to where Crypto becomes that much better and honestly starts to dominate the meta. Can you imagine EMPs flying around all the time? I think it would be fun, but will it be too much after a while, just like we're saying with Gibraltar? That all remains to be seen. I think people will enjoy this change, but it's very easy for a character who has a decent kit but is unpopular to get a buff and suddenly become OP. Keep your eye on this change because I think it will actually make a huge difference in the way Apex is played and what you'll be going against in your games. Let me know what you think in the comments below. The second thing is Caustic. Caustic is actually getting a nerf. Let's go. I know people are yelling and screaming out there. I know some people are crying. I'm sorry for you. Do you need a tissue? I'm sorry. I ain't crying. I'm happy. I like the Caustic's getting nerfed. I want Caustic out of there. But let me just explain this neutrally so you guys know exactly what's happening. So the big change is that Caustic now has its gas canisters able to be destroyed. Whether you shoot the bottom, whether you shoot them while they're deploying, which were previous iterations of how that used to work, you can now counterplay Caustic gas canisters by just shooting 150 damage into them collectively. They also have a bit of a delay in terms of when the gas will fade once it is destroyed or after it has been deployed. It will have an 11-second time period where the gas will spew out and be damaging versus the 12.5-second time period that it used to have. So a 1.5 seconds off that gas where it would normally be running a little bit longer in previous versions of Caustic. Now the gas will still have an impact for 2 seconds after it's been destroyed, meaning that you can destroy it at 3 seconds, but it will still last for 5 seconds, or you could destroy it at 11 seconds by not getting 150 damage on it, and it'll last until 13 seconds. So there's still some potential to have the same effect of a gas canister that Caustic used to have. However, you're going to have to be fast and on your trigger when you're trying to destroy it early so that it doesn't take up space on your vital rotations. All right, so the 2 C's, those are the nerfs and changes, and this is really what I think makes this season so different. The changes are being focused on characters that can be either very OP or very underpowered UP, and I'm really curious if this is going to shift both of them in opposite directions. Will Crypto become this dominant force in Apex Legends competitive and in your games, and will Caustic be negligible, or will Caustic still, just because of the nerf, have people trying him, testing him out, and find that he's just as valuable or more valuable than before, and people don't mind playing against him? I think that's the goal, trying to make Caustic a little bit more fun to play against, but Crypto, whew, it could be good. Let me know what you guys think. All right, it wouldn't be a patch notes if we didn't talk about my favorite part of it, right? Weapons. Let's talk about what's changed in the weapons, the new hop-ups, and of course the weapon I have my eye on this season you might not be thinking about. So the alternator is back into the ground loot, and disruptor rounds, out of here. Although they're so fun to play, they are not fun to play against. Taking its place in the care package is the Volt, which we knew, and the damage per bullet is nice, going from 15 to 17, and the mag size being increased from 28 to 30. Remember when the Spitfire went from 18 to 19 damage per bullet and how OP it became? Yeah, now the Volt's getting 2 damage per bullet. Watch out. So we have a new hop-up in the game called Kinetic Feeder. This one works for the triple take and the Peacekeeper, a shotgun and, well, a shotgun, just kidding, a sniper shotgun and a shotgun, allowing you when you slide not only to choke up the reticle faster so you get a little bit more of an accurate shot when it's completely closed, but then you also get the ability to reload some of your ammo as you're sliding. So if you happen to hit 0 ammo and hit a long downhill slide, by the time you get to the bottom and start fighting again, ideally you would have some ammo ready to shoot without having to reload. This is a really cool concept. I think it'll be fun and flashy. Will it be practical? Well, I'm waiting to find out. You guys let me know what you think. Hammer point rounds are back, however, for the P2020, the RE45, and the Mozambique. What that is the opposite of disruptor rounds, meaning once you're done with shield, you do much more damage to someone's unshielded health, that 100 that is not based on your shield and is just your raw health. And so this will mean that you can switch over to any of these weapons as your sidearm, maybe after you've broken someone's shield, and really finish them off quickly. The P2020 has the biggest bonus with 50% unshielded damage, although the bullets of that P2020 hit a little bit less than these other weapons, but it'll also be for the Mozambique, which gives you 35% unshielded damage, and the RE45, something people are very excited about, specifically because an RE45 can actually get you past the shielded damage early. Will this be able to one-clip people a lot easier? Oh, I think it's going to be a weapon that many people start to use, whether it's a sidearm or whether it's even an early mid-game monster that you finally switch out when you find something from a care package or that fully kitted R301 that just has that range and has that damage up close too. 3 big nerfs to the Apex Legends weapons coming up here as well, and then I'm going to talk about the weapon and hop-up I'm the most excited about, and I think you guys will enjoy. The triple take is removing projectile growth from bullets, which, if I'm reading this right, means that as the bullets would travel, their projectiles would stay in a wider growing state, meaning it was easier to hit your shots from farther away. I believe that they've just standardized that bullet growth so that it's not expanding over a distance, but someone correct me if I'm wrong. That's just how I'm reading these patch notes. Secondly, I also am excited to tell those who didn't like to play against the triple take that it's going from 23 to 21 damage. That's a significant nerf, and the designer said that although they love the return of the triple take, it just was overperforming against the rest of the pack with long range weapons. So we'll see. Maybe it gets the new kinetic feeder hop up and it balances out the fact that it no longer hits as hard. The Flatline is getting the infamous nerf the Spitfire got the buff for, the 19 to 18 damage. The Flatline has always been one of the best weapons in Apex. If you're new, get used to it. If you're old, you've already known this forever, but now it's going from 19 to 18. What does this mean for the mid-range, kind of long-range weapons? Well, it feels like the R301 is going to be in a good spot, considering the fact that it's got no nerfs this season, and the Flatline, one of its direct competitors, has, but I also think it's going to make some room for just a unique change in the way that we think about these weapons. The Flatline may be taking a back seat. I'm sure it'll still be good, but maybe it won't be that premier 1, 2, 3 go-to choice for most players when they're looking to find their weapons for late game. So the Rampage goes from 28 to 26 damage. That's 2 damage off per bullet. That's a big deal. And they also reduce the amount of shots you can get from the revved state, meaning when you put a thermite into it and decide to rev it up, you get an extra bit of damage and shots accessible to you. It's now, instead of 40, 34 this season. So big nerfs to some of the most important weapons that we've seen in high-level Apex. That is going to shift things up just because. The RD45, the Triple Take, the Mozambique, the Prowler, and the Havoc are your new fully kitted weapons this season. So when you find one, get excited because you're going to get a chance to play with a lot of these new hop-ups. And speaking of hop-ups, that brings me to my favorite weapon change, and of course what we get to see this season that I've always felt could be in the meta of high-level play very, very soon. The 30-30 repeater. The 30-30 repeater has always been right underneath the G7 Scout for me, but with the G7 Scout in the care package now for multiple seasons, it may be it's time to shine. Not only that, the flatline has taken a step back. We've seen things like the Rampage not have the same impact, and the 30-30 repeater is getting some nice quality of life changes with the shatter caps. Now, the 30-30 repeater and the Bocek bow are getting shatter caps, which allows players now to simply have more of a shotgun experience when they're using these weapons up close. While these weapons are really, really good from long range, that was the reason you couldn't really bring them into late game fights, because you need to be able to handle players who are pushing you, and if you have to hit a precision shot every time or use an aim down sights and slow yourself down and be very easy to hit, well, those aren't good options. The G7 Scout kind of was the best of both worlds because it had a great hip fire, even though it was a single bullet, but its long range and rate of fire really allowed it to be the versatile weapon that you wanted, the poke and the easy pressure for someone who's maybe playing like a reps role at TSM, maybe anchoring a squad versus being the entry fragger who might have an R99 and a Mastiff in their hands. I love this change though, because I think it takes the thought process of shatter caps out the window, as you no longer have to toggle it on or off, and you just decide when you hip fire that you will be getting this benefit of a pellet kind of shotgun experience. And that to me is going to make this weapon feel so much better. And I think players are going to start adopting it more in different stages of the game. With that, they get a reduction in damage from 8 to 7 damage per pellet, and the Bocek bow also gets that treatment from 12 to 11. So yes, I think this is a pre-nerf because they know this is going to make this weapon feel and perform a lot better, and we're scared that this might be a little too strong. The final thing that is a little interesting for those to note, maybe a bonus conversation, is that the flatline and the longbow are no longer able to be found on the ground. You actually have to go now, for the first time in Apex history, into a crafting station to get these two weapons. The reason that they're doing this is because there are a lot of weapons in Apex Legends, and loot is a really important balance that they have to keep, because if you have too many weapons in there, too many pieces of ammo, too many things to find, it saturates it and doesn't allow you to really figure out how to get fully kitted guns. So they have to keep that balance really nicely, and putting them into the crafting, the crafters is really one of the ways that they've decided to do it. It does mean you're going to have to work a little bit harder to get your flatline and your longbow, and especially with the flatline being nerfed, I'm curious to see if this really takes it out of the meta almost completely. Either way, I'm so excited about the shatter caps and the 30-30 and Maggie and the rank changes. Of course, the map changes as well, and the Caustic and Crypto buffs and nerfs respectively, because I think this is really going to change the dynamic of how Season 12 is played. Let me know what your favorite thing is in the comment section below, and of course, tell me the stuff that you thought I didn't mention or you didn't like that I said. Either way, thanks for watching, and as always, never give up, never stop gaming. I'll see you all in Season 12.